Welcome to Follow Your Joy podcast, where intuition is the doorway to your wisdom, your genius, and your joy. I'm your host, Marla Diane, and I've been transforming creative entrepreneurs' lives for over 26 years through two businesses as a success coach and business strategist, and prior to that, an entertainment publicist and talent manager. It's time to make joy your inner GPS for life and business decisions, rather than lean on your logic and your reason first. You'll not only be following what is most authentic to you and for you, but you will live the beautiful life meant just for you. You'll come to learn that following your joy is a life and a business strategy. So listen in for inspiring entrepreneurial stories and solo casts that illuminate listening to your intuition is certainly the doorway to your wisdom, your genius, and your joy. Not sure how to access, use, or trust your intuition? Join me in the conversation to find out how. Well, hello, welcome back. You know, it really brings me tons of joy, which I think you kind of get by now, but to do this podcast and have an impact on your life. I'm super grateful to have this platform to bring you behind the scenes and have you experience these highly talented creative entrepreneurs and listen to their stories of struggle to victory using their intuition to navigate their successes. So I want to give you also the option to ask me a question. This is kind of new. Ask me a question about any one of the episodes that, resonated with you so that I can answer it in a future episode. So here's all you have to do is either leave a review at the Apple platform on my podcast page, or email my team, support@marladiane.com, or just DM me at Instagram. It's Marla_Diane. I'd love that. Send me a question and be more than happy to answer it. Let's bring on Juan Castro. And Juan, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me as a guest speaker on this podcast. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I launch into your official intro and our conversation, I always like to share where we met. Tell me if I'm correct about this, but I looked this up before I got on here, which was actually February 2018, where you attended my Creative Roundtable dinner, which was the first time meeting, thanks to Robert's introduction. And a month later, you were in a private coaching program that was March of 2018. And then a year later, we did a second one, a personal branding and a spirituality program. Done a lot. And then we become close friends. We kind of take long hikes together, have these deep conversations about life, dinners. And in other words, we're just enjoying kind of this spiritually based, friendship. And it's really cool. So listeners, get ready for some, what I call mind shifting ideas and stories from Juan. Because you know what? He's a young man with an old soul and a lot of wisdom and a lot of energy, which you're going to experience. And Juan is and I remember us working on this when we were developing your brand. This is really cool. He's a music transformational artist who uses the mastery of DJing and entertainment to create a multi-generational experience for clients in hosting events. And I like this phrase he uses, a vibe creator. He works with Robert Arthur of Invisible Touch Events out of Orange County, which, by the way, he was on a previous episode. And he's been with Robert for over 10 years, where they provide entertainment for events in literally all over Southern California. Event production, stage, audio, lighting, design. I mean, it's kind of an all-one, stop package that you can get from them. And Juan is on the management team of Invisible Touch. And to feed his passion even more and master his DJ skills and his higher creativity, you can find him at clubs all over LA and Orange County, where he entertains these crowds with his own mixes, which is really the heart of his artistry. So, Juan, let's get going on your stories. How about that for an intro?
I love it. Oh my gosh, amazing. 4 years ago, that's right. That's when we met. I was 27. I was my birthday month. So
That's right.
lots going on during that time. Yeah, that's awesome. I just had the memory of, the first time we met at one of your dinners, and yeah, it was awesome. Great memory.
Yeah.
Been a great friendship.
It has. I mean, it's really a terrific friendship. I don't know if you remember. This is for those of you that, again, I mean, my audience typically are spiritually based. You remember when you saw that shooting star?
Yeah, that shooting star, that was the first thought that came to mind. We had just gotten done with awesome roundtable, awesome discussions, delicious dinner, and I was just blown away. Like, I was in awe. I was like, where has this been my whole life? Like, this is it. And then as I'm coming out of that place, I see the biggest shooting star. It looked like a comet, kind of just soar right in front of me all the way down. And I was like, oh, took my breath away a little bit. And I was like, oh man, something's happening here. Like, I feel it. Like,
Yeah.
I see you, universe. I see you.
I love that. Yeah, that was kind of like the beginning of our friendship and our, then coaching relationship. It's kind of cool. It was just something to
Su-
remember.
Super cool. Awesome memory to remember
Oh,
each other by.
just tell us about the work that you do and why you chose to be a vibe creator.
It all started about 12 years ago, 13 years ago. My whole life, I wanted to be a pro soccer player, and that's what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, I got back injury, and that was the end of that story. So this was, sometime in transition point between high school and college, freshman year in college. I was figuring out, okay, what am I going to do now? I can't play soccer. That was my full on passion, what I spent my time doing and what I loved. So what am I going to do now? I came across DJing. Like, I was at a festival working a security job. I was at, as a security, and it was EDC 2009, 2010. I remember being at this music festival and just seeing all the DJs go up. There's one DJ in particular, DJ AM, rest in peace. Adam Goldstein, my DJ hero, and one of the DJs I look up to and have always looked up to. Yeah, I saw him go up and do his thing. The way he was, first of all, the way he was just manipulating the sound, manipulating the music and the artistry behind it, the technique. I didn't know at the time what he was doing, but it was all magic to me. And then the second aspect was how he was controlling the crowd, the experience he was bringing, the energy he was creating. At the time, I didn't know any of what was happening. I just knew, I was like, whoa, like whatever that guy's doing up there, I couldn't tell you what he was doing, but I want to learn how to do that. So that's pretty much the introduction to how I got introduced to the whole DJing thing. Fast forward 13 years later, that's what I do full time. Started off as an events DJ, mobile DJ, private events, from doing weddings, social events, corporates, to now, going into the artistry side of music, going into the artistry side of being a DJ, creating that environment, creating that vibe through not just for an event, but like a function, where I get hired to bring this kind of energy, whether it's through music, through my entertainment and stuff. So loved it for the past 13 years. And I think I'm going to continue to love it all the way till I can't carry my turntable or scratch a record. It's something I want to be doing till the very end of my lifetime. And yeah, it brings great joy to me. One of the biggest things as to why I love it so much and how it brings me joy, it makes me feel like I'm making a difference in people's lives and their everyday lives, whether it's through a celebration, through, a crazy night out with friends at a bar, or visiting a theme park, whether it's Knott's Berry Farm or Disney. For those moments, I'm able to deliver and create this experience for people to kind of just get away or become present and like get lost into the music that's being played. So just seeing that happen in front of me, people, whether it's they're dancing their hearts off, like no one's watching, singing, just fully engaged in that moment, that part is just the rewarding part for me. Like, it's like, oh my God, one of the, I would say, pillars to what brings enjoyment out of the job that I do, DJing.
Yeah. Having obviously several DJ clients, and I love music and I love entertainment, it's been around my life a long time, is that, you are really reading, you're reading the room, and the vibe creation that's exactly what you are. You're creating this connection for people, right? This total connection, but you've got to be so tuned in. You got to be connected to them, to that room, so that you're literally, it's this energy vibe, right?
You hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly what it is, and it's taking me throughout my DJ journey and career, some time to kind of see the true breakdown of that and kind of function in that way as a DJ. When I first started, I knew there was energy that had to be created, but it was more of an emphasis on the technical music. And
Sure.
Now it's just that, a vibe creator. It's boiled down to, I'm coming in and, like you said, setting that atmosphere, setting that vibe of connection for people to come together and, just experience harmony and movement, creation, dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy has to be right. The vibe has to be right, whether it's at your wedding, whether it's at a bar, a nightclub, a theme park, the energy has to be right in the way, you're coming off and filling in the room as your energy yourself as a DJ MC, with the music you play, how that translates over. I think something that works out for me very well and kind of grounds me and gives me the ability to enjoy this job more than people would think, I think, would be being present, like just getting into that room and grounding yourself and say, okay, I'm here. Like, let's feel the energy of this room right now. What does it feel like? Other times it's amazing at a wedding, people are excited. It's a celebration. We're celebrating love. We're celebrating union and all great vibes. Then there's times where the energy is kind of like, it's a little awkward in here. You're at a corporate event full of scientists or engineers or lawyers. No, I wouldn't say lawyers, because lawyers, they usually party, and as soon as they're in the room, but just, you're walking into different kinds of rooms and feeling out the energy. So something that really has helped me out is becoming present and fully aware of all that, and seeing spiritually how I could tap in and elevate the whole room on a spiritual, metaphysical realm. And then the music follows. That all that translates with the music, with my tone of voice, how I approach what I'm going to say. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Obviously it makes sense to me, but you're probably posing that question to the listeners.
Yeah.
It's an energy vibe. Have you ever, and I'm curious, I'm sure you have, and I'd love to hear how you changed it. Have you ever been, obviously a DJ for a particular event, and it's like, when are these people going to actually get it? In other words, you were maybe struggling to try and get them to get on the dance floor, or the energy vibe, as much as you tried, it wasn't working, and then you got it to work. Was there ever a situation like that for you?
No, absolutely. Now that I'm aware of it, because before, when I wasn't aware of, just the approach, I just wouldn't be like, people don't want to dance. Like, people were, what's going on? Like, they're not liking my music. But now I'm just like, okay, I'm coming inside the room. I'm trying to set a certain tone with my energy behind the microphone, getting people going, engaged, and the energy is off. Like, let's say in this case, it's off. It's not going, like, people aren't being receptive. They're kind of like, oh yeah, we're here to party, whatever. Or it's just like, poker face, no reaction, like, just like nothing.
Oh, God.
We're at ground level. I gotta come in 2-3 notches,
Mm.
in higher, but I can't come in hot. I gotta come in gracefully. Like,
Mm.
hey, everyone, how's it going? Like gracefully. That's the word that I use to describe. So if it doesn't work, that usually does the trick. But in very rare occasions, where it's like, man, I've tried it all with my presence on the mic, with the music, with what I'm saying, with how I'm making people feel, like being funny, or it's not working. Like, these people are not jumping on the wagon. Like, why isn't this elevating up? Like, why is this just staying in the same, place where we started? Because, as an entertainer, it's like a crescendo, whether it's an event or performance, boom, it just goes up. But when we do come to these moments, it's like, what's going on? Relating it back to an example that maybe a month ago, it happened to me for the first time in a very long time, where I felt disconnected from the crowd. And, it was a Hispanic wedding. Both bride and groom were Mexican, like myself. My parents are Mexican. So full on, like, there was that connection there. Like, okay, I know my Mexican people. They party. They like this kind of music. It was that beautiful Rancho Las Lomas. Like, everything was perfect. I'm like, it's going to be piece of cake, energy. I get there and it's like, oh my God, what's going on? Dinner time. Like, people are just quiet and like, shy, or like not showing. I'm just like, what's going on here? Like, it's dinner time and the energy's not coming. So at that point, it's like fishing. I love fishing, and I'm throwing baits out, but gracefully. Let's see if this little jolt on the jig is gonna work, or like, let's see if this color, and whether it's with the music, with the announcements, with how I'm engaging people. It's a very spiritual thing. Like, physically, you feel it, in your gut. Tap into that wavelength where you're gonna get to these people. You feel it when you're not doing it, but once you tap in, I still haven't been able to figure out, like, is there a certain process that I have to go through to tap in? You just tap in. You feel it, and now we're going up. So next thing you know, after dinner, I'm throwing out, all the cumbias, like stuff that people like, and it's not working. And next thing you know, I get a super pumped up guy comes up and he's like, hey, you got to play some reggaeton, blah, blah, blah. Bro, I've been playing like reggaeton, plus, it's an older crowd. Like, I don't think so he's going to be like, trust me, like, I got you. And at that point, that talking about energy and intuition, I'm like, okay, this is a sign. Like, I'm gonna flow with this. Universe is showing me, God is showing me that he's there. I'm about to get some help right now. And so I played it. Dude shows up and brings up like 6 people, and I go off of his energy now, and boom, it all next thing you know, dance floor's packed. Everyone's on. I transition over to the stuff that works, and boom, it's a full-on party for the next 6 hours. And that, so going back with all that said, that's how, connecting to the question you asked, how do I tap into that energy? How do I think that's a great example, most recent one.
Yeah, you're an entertainer, but what you're using, which I know you'll agree with, you're using your intuition. That as a DJ, as an artist, period, even a musician, even a performer. But in this case, as you're using your intuition, that's the energy vibe, and kind of reading into it. Right?
Exactly. Like the intuition. And I think first of all, I think you got to be tapped in, to source, to be able to listen and be aware and receive your intuition. Next thing, I think you got to trust it. And then, all the years of experience come in with 12, 13 years, like whether it's reading the crowd, knowing your music, the mixing, how you're going to do it. I think intuition is like the basis of it all, that kind of starts everything.
Yeah, that's it, man. Follow your joy. Listen to that intuition. That's the whole purpose I'm doing this podcast, So it's
joy,
man. It's a great example. You did well in that. Thank goodness the guy walked up and kind of assisted you, because he probably,
and it was the smallest thing, like if it was another day, I probably would have been like, yeah, dude, whatever. Like, I'm not going to play reggaeton here because it's, 70, 50, like 60, 70 ages and up, and they don't like reggaeton, dude.
Yeah.
Thinking, but I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to trust you. Like I said, it rarely happens where I'm
Yeah.
like kicking and screaming underwater and just like, like, let's very rarely, one out of like 1,000 times where I
Yeah.
experienced this, because usually I'm on and like people are there to. So, but I think that was a good example to kind of bring up, showing
Yeah,
that.
I mean, because yes, the bigger percentage, of course, you know how to, light up a room, you know how to make it happen. And especially, when you're at Disney, because you guys are one of the, the in-house, if you will, Disney DJs, for Disneyland and Disney Adventure, which is so cool. It's like, what's difficult about that? It's not, everyone comes there to have a great time. By the way, listeners, I mean, Invisible Touch events, and Juan is usually one of the DJs that goes out there because he's one of the master DJs. They are the in-house Orange County, DJ company that Knott's Berry Farm and Disney hires, and for
That's right.
several years. So you can say you knew you know the DJs that are doing the whole Disney thing. It's pretty cool. So, okay, share, if you would, share a story when you followed your intuition that led to a joyful, fulfilling result. I think it generally in your life, you followed your joy, you followed that intuition. What happened?
When I think about moments like that, a couple of them come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cool ones, but I'd say one of the biggest ones that kind of stands out and probably could be of help to maybe some listeners out there that might be going through, anything like this, was actually after graduating college. That experience. Graduated college, by the way. I went to Cal State Fullerton, majored in business with an emphasis in entertainment. And yeah, that last senior year, the second half of it, first and second, actually, no, the whole senior year, I was like, all right, we were interning and, once you're in school, especially in business, it's a whole, corporate, like you want to work for the best. It's like a draft, like a team, like you want to be part of the best team, best company for your reputation and whatever. So I was like sucked into that. And I was thinking, okay, I graduate at the end of this year. What am I going to do? Like, I had been a DJ for about 8 years then. I was thinking about quitting DJing and, getting a corporate job, 9 to 5, and following that path, following that whole system. I'd say that going back to that story, that's definitely one of the most key moments in my life where I really took some time, that whole year, and not just to think, but to be honest with myself and to really discover like what brings me joy, what brings me happiness, who I am as a person. I think that was a big year for me to kind of dig in and say like, dude, listen to what you're asking.
Mm-hmm.
Really listen to what your choices are and what you're asking for yourself to do. Like, why are you doing it? Before, I didn't really think that way. I was like, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to graduate college and I'm supposed to make 40, 60K a year and like get benefit, blah, 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 blah. Which respect to all that and the system that, the people that do follow that, there's a lot of value. But that's just my perspective and how I feel about it. Nothing personal. I was honest with myself. And, I remember the week of graduation, I really had a moment to myself after, that kind of build up and led up to this moment. I was like, all right, Juan, like, what are we going to do, man? Like, are we going to quit DJing full time? Are we going to get serious and get a real job or what's happening? I had a flash that came to me and kind of like said, are you stupid? Like, what are you, like, wake up, Juan, like, what's going on right now? So it was a big wake up call. And I was like, you know what? Like, DJing has brought so much to my life, like in every possible way, in every aspect, socially, mentally, physically. And this is what I'm doing right now. And I think I should keep this momentum going. So, listening to my intuition, I did that. Graduation day, I was like, I'm gonna try this whole DJing thing out, and
Mhm.
fast forward 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 5 years later, like I'm doing it full time. I sustain a balanced, happy life, mentally, physically, financially. Um, and yeah, it's probably the best choice I've ever made. And that choice was made with my intuition and
Yeah.
following my path and soul. Yeah. So
No,
there goes that story.
and no, that's a really, really good example. And I keep, thank goodness, and I keep hearing this in the stories here in the podcast, is that, I can either go left or right, or, go that path or that path. Right. And when you listen to, which is so, smart on your part, when you like took that moment, right, to really ask yourself, like, wait a minute, okay, there's the formula. There's society's formula. Cool. That's good for other people, not for me. But you got
Yeah.
real with yourself. And that's so important. And that's really the theme that I'm seeing now through these, stories, these interviews that are going on with the podcast, is that there's always this, kind of fork in the road. Or there's this presented, which is society, and this presented, which is my joy. And every one of you, and you're another good example, it's like, no, I listen to my intuition. I really ask myself, okay, well, that's fine. That's kind of a package in itself, and I can do that kind of system called corporate America. And that's fine. That's fine. But, my audience, who I am, and that this is the entrepreneurial world. We enjoy the creativity of creating, something from nothing.
That's right.
Right. We enjoy the whole creative part of life. And that is creating a life that's full of joy, that you follow your intuition, you follow your joy. So perfect. Your story was spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. Like I said, that's just one of many that I think, that's just fresh in my mind now. I think I shared this at another class or something. Like we were talking about choices, and they said, hey, what's one of the bigger choices you've ever done? And what was the foundation of that choice?
Yeah.
I was like, intuition.
Well, and when you connect all the dots, and I know you and I've had, conversations like this on our hikes and things that we've done, when you connect the dots, you went from on the surface, when you think about it, you went from soccer to DJ. It's like, what's the connection here? There isn't one. Meaning there isn't one on the surface, but in the bigger picture. And I always go to this. I go to things that are happening for me, not to me. Right?
Yes.
Things are happening for me, not to me. Apparently, there was a reason for that to happen. As much as you loved being in that soccer, being in that athletic career that you had, but that apparently was not what was really meant for you. Do you agree with that?
100% correct. Exactly how I feel about it. At first it was, you're going through it. It was heartbreak. It was like, what's going on? Like, it's the end of the world. Then DJ, here comes DJ, and I'm like, whoa, I love this. And with that comes other things. You really get into it, and then once you're serious about it, fear, doubt, all that starts coming in. Like, oh man, like I've been doing this for 5 years now. Like, where are we going with this? And I think that's what it comes down to, just following the intuition and sticking with that, and like you said, going back and connecting the dots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just said it. All your, mostly that it's been a similar story to, all the guests that you've had here, and their story of finding their joy and what they do and things like that. And yeah, I think it's definitely one of the common journeys or paths of that choice of life, I think.
Yeah, as long as you listen. I mean, and this is too, as an overarching topic. I mean, this, everybody, is why you don't ignore your intuition. It is life-changing when you do and when you don't. Right. So, I mean, one story along with everyone else's that you've heard, literally every one of them listened to their intuition. Imagine if they did not.
1,000%, Marla. And for those listeners out there listening that perhaps, are kind of wondering what we're talking about, or how do I know how do I know I've tapped into my intuition and, are starting their journey? It's,
Joy.
joy, man. Like, just be patient and be aware of it, and just understand that once you start feeling like, oh, something's going on, like it's your joy calling you, like, hello, like,
Right.
go, joy's a companion that you can't forget about. And
Yep.
it's the joy calling within, like, you got to do something to,
Yeah. Exactly. You need to listen to, and that's why again, the premise of the podcast is following your joy is a life and a business strategy. It's not just a good feeling. It's literally a life and a business strategy. And here's how you can kind of tell if something feels, and see if you agree with this one, is that, and I know what your answer is going to be, since I know you, but imagine trying to make a decision and something feels flatter than the other one that feels a lot more joyful. One logically makes sense. The other one, like, okay, that's pretty good too. But if you lean on the logic and the reasoning, the one that's kind of a flat feeling, you're like going, yeah, well, that kind of makes sense though. That to me, it sounds really logically smart to do. That's not what I'm suggesting you do. Don't lean on, hence, right? Hence the whole premise here and everything that I coach, as you know, Juan, is that no, you don't lean on first your logic and your reasoning and your functionality and the intellect. Don't lean on that first. Let that be the support to the intuition that you listen to first for the answer, and then do the actions with your intellect.
Amazing. That was beautifully said.
Yeah.
Good job.
It's just a helpful for everybody, is that because I get asked questions like, how do I develop my intuition better? I have, many clients that are already on it. They know it, they understand it. And I have some that don't, and then friends and so forth. But essentially, yes, is that when you really learn to tune in to your intuition, hence look for the feeling of joy, look for the high vibe, if you will. Success leaves clues. Success leaves clues, and joy is a clue.
Exactly. I mean, right on the money with all that. And, like I said, for those of you listening, like, well, joy, like, that are probably, in a different place right now and are trying to figure out what joy is, like, what's even joy? Like, I think something for me that helps me out to think about it is, joy in general, when I think about it, is, feeling pleasant. What's going to make you feel pleasant? Not good, because there's a lot of things that could make you feel good, but, they're not necessarily going to be good for you. But if things make you feel pleasant, then you're going to be pleasant. Like, you're going to be a pleasant, in a pleasant state of being. And once you feel that way, I think, joy is just an outcome of that.
Yeah.
It comes from within. How are you feeling inside? Some examples for me, what makes me feel pleasant? Physically, I have to work out. I have to be active. I got to eat the right food that's going to fuel my body and make me feel, give me energy. Mentally, what's going to make me feel at ease mentally. The feeling of pleasantness, feeding it the right stuff, whether it's, reading books, podcasts, and just feeding the brain positive thoughts. And then spiritually having that connection to whether it's God, the universe, the divine, whatever you want to call it. So for me, when I'm aligned with those three things, I feel pleasant, man. Like every experience, whether it's good or bad, I handle it in a pleasant way. And I think that is kind of like the basis of where joy comes from. So, with the job, if I'm taking care of myself and, I'm balanced, I'm showing up to my events, my gigs, and feeling great. Joy kind of stems from all that,
It's a lifestyle. I mean, what you just, shared was you're using, what we're talking about. It's a lifestyle for you. And
it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Like, it's something you practice. It's something you work on. It's something you tune. It's a constant practice. It's like an instrument, joy is an instrument. You got to keep practicing. And the more you practice it, the better it gets. So same with joy. I mean, I don't know that.
Yeah, no, amen. I mean, we could definitely talk about this forever. It's again, joy is not just a feeling. It is a life and a business strategy. It just is, when you really understand, as we've been talking about. It's based on your, experience and expertise. What's one tip of advice to give to our creative entrepreneurs?
Awareness, just being aware, whether it's in your business, whether it's, in your own conscious mental space, whether it's of yourself, whether it's of your surroundings, just awareness in general. Be aware, So I'd say that for sure is one of the golden tips. I say, if I could give some other ones out of the top of my head that are golden, I'd say consistency and accountability. That's the key to success. I think that's the magic password to however you attribute success. Like, that's the magic password right there. Consistency and accountability. That's gold. And work on your ability to respond to life. Always respond. And, with good responses, comes awareness. So you got to be aware first, and then the responses come. And, those are maybe three things I'd share as.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, what I got out of that was mainly, pay attention,
pay attention, be present,
right?
Be aware,
be present, be aware, be conscious, pay attention, right? The best that you can. So, okay. Where can people get in touch with you? They want to reach out with you.
I'm very active on social media, on Instagram right now. I update my stories daily, mostly on the jobs that I'm doing, the events, music stuff, and currently on the 75 hard challenge that I'm doing. So, if you listen to, probably by the time this gets released, I'll be done with it. But, I'm on day 58 right now, and I pretty much just keep a daily update. That's part of the challenge on how it's going and things like that. But yeah, find me on Instagram at DJ Juan Castro, all together, DJ Juan Castro. And let's connect.
Okay, terrific on that. And everybody, I'll put in the show notes his Instagram handle where you can find his mixes.
That's right. Mixcloud,
right?
All that stuff. If you could put it up there, they have some fun mixes out too, and currently working on more. So
excellent. Yeah, you can literally go to his Mixcloud site and listen to his music, and then of course Invisible Touch event. So all of that will be in the show notes. All right. Wow. Oh my goodness. I know we could go on and on, but it's definitely been a really kind of rich conversation. So thank you, Juan, for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Marla, for inviting me to your podcast. I know how excited you are about it and how much you enjoy it. So it's really an honor to be here. I mean, I know outside of this podcast we have great conversations, but just to kind of put it out to the world and have people take some nuggets from it, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, thank you. You're welcome. So you heard it from the Vibe creator, Juan
Hey.
Castro. So everyone, thanks for listening in, and please remember to always follow your joy. Wasn't that an inspiring conversation? Hey, thanks for listening in. You can find more entrepreneurial stories and resources at marladiane.com. And while you're there, enjoy my 3 free downloads to up-level your business and your life. And how about you take a screenshot of this episode and tag me on Instagram by sharing your highlights of what you learned today. I'd love that. Until next episode, take care.